there is something that needs to be talked about, specifically in Canada and the United States, that I think a lot of people only think is happening in big countries like China, and that's mass surveillance on a large scale, utilizing AI systems. There's a general disbelief here in Canada that those sorts of large surveillance AI systems aren't being utilized here yet. And I wanted to make a video to spread more awareness to say that that's simply incorrect. We have to come together as a society, and this is not about politics, about left or right, and realize that our governments do not have our best interests in mind. They care about wealth, they care about surveillance, and they care about power. Warmongering, making money through war. Surveilling their citizens so that they behave correctly. This is something that I'm surprised is not more common knowledge. In Canada, there are certain police forces that are already using technology called Pegasus. And what Pegasus is Pegasus can monitor people on a large scale across societies, like cities like Toronto, for example, or other cities, large cities in Canada. You're going to hear that these policing agencies and that our government, the United States, are going to only use these for criminal activities, and I think we have to come to the conclusion that that's false. This technology is going to be used to monitor dissent. It's going to be used to monitor people's opinions if they go against the grain of what the agenda of whatever government is in place is trying to utilize for their gain. I think we have to come together as a society and understand this is not a liberal or conservative thing. I think we're seeing this with what's happening in the United States with the Jeffrey Epstein case. We know that the DOJ is lying. We know that that video is edited. We know that it was actually pretty sloppily done too, with Adobe, some sort of Adobe editing software. We're utilizing a lot of these technologies with the help of intelligence agencies, and one group in specific, Israeli intelligence forces. They're using programs such as Pegasus, as well as others, to monitor Palestinians and their own citizens. They're also using technology, AI systems called Lavender and the Gospel. And what these technologies do is they utilize AI programs for making war bombardment easier and killing targets easier. China is utilizing a system on a mass scale called Manus, which is generally perceived to be one of the world's first open AGI softwares that is known about, or prototype AGI softwares. People have to understand that misinformation is being spread on a massive scale here in Canada, on our social media platforms, in advertisement that is being pushed through these platforms to create dissent, to create disinformation, to create hatred and clashing amongst groups within our societies. We're getting to a point now with generative AI and deepfakes and operating systems like OpenAI and Manus, where they're becoming so good at creating accounts and bots and things of this nature that we're at the point where it's very hard to distinguish what's a real person you're arguing with and somebody who's just an AI bot chat program. I think people are losing their minds sometimes, realizing that they may not actually be talking to real people. This is sort of what I want to end the conversation with. we have to get to a point where we're not utilizing just our smartphones for our opinions, for our talking points, for these sorts of things. People have to actually get out there, talk about these things more, about how the government is surveilling its citizens, how these things could be taken to an extreme level in the future, an Orwellian level that we're actually already beginning to see in some countries who are utilizing this technology. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this video, and this is not political, this is not, again, a right or a left issue, is the issue of mass immigration. It's my opinion that it's partially by design. It's partially by design to create a demographic change over time, to sway voting bases in certain, talking about here, Canadian cities, from voting one way or the other, that may not have voted one way or the other if mass groups of people were not brought into Canada without further deeply understanding Canadian values, Canadian culture, our history. I'd like to also say this is not a race issue I'm seeing anymore. All you have to do is go on comment threads on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, on platforms like this. It's not just white people. It's Canadians of all shades and creeds, Americans as well, that are realizing that it's getting harder and harder to trust our governments, regardless of what side you're on. And I think concluding this conversation on the topic of UAP disclosure with highly advanced AGI programs like this, I think it's going to be increasingly more difficult to get actual disclosure on the topic of extraterrestrials, extraterrestrial intelligence, hybrid technology, those sorts of things, because I believe it could very quickly be taken off the internet if those sorts of things were released. So concluding this video, I think with a few of these topics, specifically, including disclosure, extraterrestrials, UAP, whatever that may be, it's going to be up to us in the future, the general population. I echo the sentiment that I think our governments think that we're stupid. They think that we don't know what's happening. And I'm here to tell you that we do, and that we're not as stupid as they think we are. Yeah, this is a very hot button issue. Again, these are my opinions. This is speculation. This is not anything definitive. This is just another video I wanted to make about just some things that I've been thinking about and some things that I think many Canadians are unaware about what's happening here in our country, with our government, with our police forces utilizing some of these technologies, and with our intelligence agencies utilizing some of these technologies. Thank you.